If you're looking for the place where Ulysses S. Grant breathed his last, well, just follow the signs for upstate New York's Mount McGregor Correctional Facility.
You have any ID?
Yeah.
Once you're past security and up the hill, you will indeed find yourself surrounded by the grounds of a medium security prison.
I'm guessing that when General Grant sat out here, he did not see that.
No, he didn't see the razor wire.
Tim Welch runs the Grant Cottage Historic Site. Unusual as its setting may be, it's what happened inside the cottage that's truly remarkable.
Grant came here because it was so incredibly hot in New York City during the summer of 1885, and his advanced tongue and throat cancer was so painful and he was suffering.
Yes, when the general and former president came here, he was dying of throat cancer, and he was broke.
He had only $189 in his checking account as a result of his son getting him into a Ponzi scheme.
For years, the man who'd led Union troops to victory in the Civil War had declined offers to tell his story in print. He didn't consider himself a literary man. But now he was being offered $50,000 and 75% of sales by an admirer of his, author Mark Twain.
Mark Twain was a great fan of Ulysses Grant, and he made no secret of his admiration for Grant.
Grant biographer H.W. Brands.
So when he heard that Grant was thinking about writing a book-length memoir, he thought that it would be a great idea if he, Twain, could be the one to publish it.
It was an offer Grant couldn't afford to refuse, but time was running short.
Everybody in the United States knew that Grant was dying, and the nation, in a very basic way, held its breath to see who would win in this race.
He had a mission because this was the only way he was going to bail out his family from the poverty that he had inflicted on them.
The cottage looks eerily like it did during the 5 weeks Grant spent here. This is where he wrote.
So he would sit on one, and he would have a pad in front of him. His legs would be propped up over here. He couldn't lay down because he would choke because of his tongue and throat cancer.
Many of Grant's personal effects are still here. His bedclothes, his hairbrush, and of course, his cocaine water.
It's called cocaine water, and it was used to bathe his throat and his tongue to give him some relief from the pain.
Is that sediment down there, is that cocaine?
That's cocaine. And every year, the New York State Department of Parks and Recreation measures this and makes sure that none of it is gone.
You're not kidding?
I'm quite serious.
Grant was in too much pain to talk to his family or visitors, so he wrote notes.
I have such difficulty in speaking that I am no company.
But the memoir writing came easier than he may have expected. The words seemed to flow.
He discovered that he really did have a facility for it. When Grant says that he could write 10,000 words in a day, and the words hardly needed any revising at all, I and other writers are just sort of put to shame by this. And he was dying of cancer at the time. It's a remarkable feat of writing.
And one he finished, only days before dying on the morning of July 23rd.
So this is the clock that was stopped at the moment that the doctor said that Grant had breathed his last, which is 8 minutes after 8, July 23rd, 1885.
These flower arrangements, encased in beeswax, have been here for 127 years.
This one in the shape of a pillow with a 4-star General saber was sent by General Meade, the hero of Gettysburg.
They're mementos of the outpouring of grief that came from every part of the country. 1.5 million people lined the streets of New York City for his funeral procession. Just how admired was Grant? 2 of his pallbearers were former Confederate generals. As for the memoir, at more than 600 pages, it was a runaway bestseller. The family was saved from financial ruin.
The memoirs brought in ultimately something like $400,000 in cash, which is millions and millions of dollars today.
Ulysses Grant Dietz is the general's great-great-grandson.
It was a point of pride that the family clung to for the next generations. Still do, I suppose.
Grant's memoir was the first really successful celebrity memoir in American history. It was the first published memoir by a president that made an impact.
Its success would have surprised no one more than Grant.
He was a very modest man, despite the great accomplishments he made, despite the fact that he was the hero of his age in the United States. And by the time he died, he was one of the most famous men in the world. But he still thought, it's just an amazing thing that I became the commanding general of the U.S. Army, then I was twice elected President of the United States. I think it would have astonished him that he would, in addition to that, have been considered to be one of the great writers in American history.